Last week, Andy got started on all of our sewing projects, and this week, he's fabricating our new chain plates.
Today I'm going to start working on building the new chain plates for the boat. These are the old chain plates I took out of the boat. They're covered with 50 years of paint and sealant and stuff like that, and a few of them are bent, so I'm a little uncomfortable to reuse them. What I'm going to do is actually going to reuse these and turn them into backing plates, so I'll chop off the tangs and we'll just use these lower portions to go on the opposite side of the knees, so this will beef everything up quite a bit. The process of making the new chain plates is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to take the old chain plates. So the material that these are made out of is stainless steel. I'm not sure if it's 316 or 304 or whatever it is, but it's 1.25 inches wide by 3/16 thick. And the material I found is this 316L. That's 1.25 inches wide by 1/4 inch thick. I went with the slightly thicker material because it's a little easier to find and was a little cheaper actually than shipping in this 3/16 thick material. So I'm going to start by taking the existing chain plate and just laying it on top, and then just kind of tracing around it roughly, avoiding the last little bit of material because there might be some funky stuff going on there, and then just roughly marking some of the holes just so I can keep them lined up. We'll mark this is the forward starboard, forward lower. So what I'll do is I'll start just laying all the chain plates out, marking them out, labeling them on the entire bar, and then I'll come back later and cut them up with my angle grinder. Now I want to make sure I leave a gap between each chain plate, just so I can have enough material to do a cut in between. So I got everything traced out here. This last one was the backstay. Got a couple inches to spare. Now I need to cut everything out, and I'm going to use my angle grinder with a thin cut-off disc, and just cut in between each one of the sections I traced out. I'm hoping this thing is not going to die because I kind of beat it up with the grinding this fall, but we'll see. Now that I got the pieces rough cut the size, I'm going to more accurately copy them. Tracing on the outside using a Sharpie. This time being careful of the curve. The radius is on the ends. And we're going to use a transfer punch. So this is transfer punch. It's used to accurately transfer the bolt hole location from one part to another. So in this case I want to do this 1/2 inch hole, so I'll take my 1/2 inch transfer punch, stick it in the hole, and you can see I have a dimple right there, so I'll know where to drill, and I will do that for the rest of the holes. I got all the holes transferred, so I have somewhere to start my drill bit, and we can go. One last thing is I'm not just perfectly copying these. I remember I'm putting larger bolts in, so I'll be using a 3/8 drill bit here rather than the 1/4 inch that was used originally. Now I also need to round the corners of the chain plates, and to do that I am going to do two things. Use the angle grinder with a cutoff wheel to remove the majority of the material, and then come back in using a grinding flap disc on the angle grinder as well. So I've already drilled one of the chain plates already to see how it would go. At this point I got the radiuses kind of roughed in. I'm going to finish the radiuses once I have all the holes drilled. Then I can bolt a whole bunch together and do it all at once. Drilling the holes in the stainless steel is pretty easy if you got a drill press. This is just like a baby Harbor Freight drill press, the 1/2-inch chuck, and it did pretty well. But I did have to use a 1/4-inch drill bit as a pilot because this thing doesn't have enough power to do it in one shot. So I drilled all the holes with a 1/4-inch pilot and then opened it up to 5/16 or the 3/8. Then I lightly chamfered each side. You don't want to do it too big of a chamfer because then you would reduce the bearing area for your pin or your bolt. So just enough to break the edge is all you really got to do. Drilling stainless is really not that hard. Where you get in the troubles with using like a pistol drill or something like that and going too fast and not applying enough pressure, you'll work harden the stainless and it'll be almost impossible to drill. So the key to this is to go slowly, use lots of cutting oil, I got WD-40, and provide lots of downward pressure. So that's where a drill press is almost a necessity for doing this. So let's get started. So I like to stop every once in a while, let the drill bit cool, put a little extra oil in it. Then every once in a while as I'm cutting down, I'll release just for 1 second, and that will break the chip. So you get these nice small chips, and that's about perfect what you want to be seeing. So I got a couple more holes to drill on the uppers, so I have the backstay and the lowers here. And we'll just come over, get a little countersink. I'm doing just enough to break the edges. You don't really want to put a big chamfer in there. I got the two pairs of chain plates. This is the aft lowers here in the vise. I stuck a bolt through the hole to line them up, and now I can grind this radius here so they'll match.
One more quick pass with the grinder to deburr, and these babies were ready to be sanded with 320 grit sandpaper until they shined. Next week, we measure and order our new standing rigging. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all of our projects.